The church smelled of lilies and nervous anticipation. The sunlight streamed through stained glass windows, painting the aisle in shades of crimson and gold. Every pew was filled, relatives, friends, co-workers, faces glowing with excitement, phones ready to capture the fairy tale moment everyone expected. At the far end of the aisle stood Ethan, tall, impeccably dressed, his jaw set tight as if carved from stone. At the back of the church, the massive oak doors opened, and Lily stepped in, radiant, trembling, a vision in white lace. Every head turned, and a collective sigh escaped the crowd. She had dreamed of this moment since she was a little girl twirling in her mother's old wedding veil. But as she took her first steps toward the altar, something in Ethan's eyes made her heart tighten. He didn't smile. He didn't soften. His gaze was sharp, cold even. She tried to steady herself. Maybe it's nerves, she thought. He's just overwhelmed. Each step echoed in the silence until she stood before him, face glowing with hope and tears. The pastor began to speak of love, commitment, and forever, but before he could ask for the vows, Ethan suddenly raised his hand. "I can't do this," he said. The whisper spread like wildfire through the congregation. "What?" Lily whispered, her voice trembling. Ethan's lips curled with something between pity and disgust. "I can't marry someone like you. I tried to convince myself it didn't matter, but it does." Gasps rippled across the room. Lily felt her world tilt, her breath stolen from her chest. "What are you talking about?" she asked softly. Ethan took a step back, voice rising. "You think I didn't hear what people said? That you're not good enough. You're not from my world, Lily. My parents were right. You don't belong here. You're just a schoolteacher with nothing to offer but cheap dreams." The words hit harder than any slap. Tears welled in her eyes, but she stood frozen, unable to move, unable to understand how the man she loved could strip her dignity in front of everyone she knew. Somewhere in the back, someone whispered, "Oh my God." Another person stood up, ready to stop this madness, but Ethan wasn't done. He turned to the audience. "I'm sorry, everyone. This mistake ends here." The silence was deafening. Lily looked down at the bouquet trembling in her hands. The roses blurred behind tears. The pastor's voice broke softly, "Son, maybe we should." But Ethan had already stormed off down the aisle, leaving his bride and an entire church in stunned disbelief. The breaking point. For a long moment, Lily couldn't move. The silence pressed heavy against her chest. Then something unexpected happened. She laughed. It wasn't loud or bitter, it was soft, fragile, the kind of laugh that comes when pain crosses into clarity. Slowly, she straightened, her hands no longer trembling. Her best friend Mia rushed forward, whispering, "Lily, let's go. You don't deserve this humiliation." But Lily shook her head. "No," she said quietly. "Not yet." She stepped toward the microphone, her white gown glimmering under the stained glass light. The crowd hushed again, every eye fixed on her. Her heart pounded, but her voice, clear and steady, cut through the silence. "You all came here to witness love," she began. "And maybe, in a strange way, you still will." Her words carried a calm strength that surprised even her. "You see, I thought today was about two people promising forever. But maybe it's about one person learning what love really means." The guests leaned in. Even those who had felt pity now felt awe. "I loved Ethan," she continued, "not because he was rich or charming, but because I believed he saw me. And I was wrong. But here's the thing, his rejection doesn't define me. I still believe in love, in kindness, in showing up even when the world laughs." She paused, her eyes finding Ethan's parents sitting stiffly in the front row. "You wanted to humiliate me. To prove I wasn't enough. Congratulations, you did. But what you can't take from me is my heart. And I'd rather stand here humiliated but kind, than walk away rich and cruel." The crowd stirred. A murmur of approval moved like wind through the pews. Tears glistened in several eyes. Lily smiled, a small, brave smile. "So, I won't let this be the end of my story. I will turn this moment into something better. For every girl who's ever been told she's not enough, for every heart that's ever been broken in front of the world, this is for you. Love doesn't humiliate. Love heals." She set her bouquet gently on the altar, bowed her head, and walked down the aisle, not broken, not defeated, but radiant. Every step she took was heavy with grace, and as she passed, people stood. One by one, the entire church rose to their feet. After the altar, The video went viral. Someone had recorded her words, her calm, her strength, and within days, millions around the world watched the bride who forgave with grace. The clip spread across social media, the most powerful wedding speech ever. But Lily didn't care for fame. She took a short leave from work and moved to her childhood hometown, a small coastal town called Evermere. There, she started teaching again, pouring her heart into her students. She began volunteering at a community center for young girls, many from broken homes, some abandoned, some feeling unworthy. Her story became a beacon of resilience. She spoke at schools, telling girls that dignity mattered more than status, that kindness wasn't weakness. When life humiliates you, she told them, you get to decide whether it breaks you or builds you. One evening, 6 months later, she received an invitation, an awards event honoring community heroes. To her surprise, she'd been nominated. She almost didn't go, but Mia insisted. When she arrived, she saw the banner, the power of grace, honoring acts of compassion. As she walked to the podium, the room erupted in applause. In the audience, she noticed something, a familiar face. Ethan. He looked different, tired, ashamed. After the ceremony, he approached her quietly. Lily, he said softly, I don't expect forgiveness. But I needed to see you. I've watched what you've done since that day. You turned pain into purpose. You made me see how wrong I was. Lily looked at him for a long moment. Ethan, she said, I forgave you the moment you walked away. Not for you, for me. I wasn't going to carry your cruelty as my burden. He swallowed hard. I wish I had your strength. You do, she said simply. You just have to choose it. And with that, she walked away, peacefully, powerfully, free. The letter. A year later, a letter arrived at Lily's home. It was from Ethan's mother. Greater than dear Lily. I owe you an apology I can never fully make. I raised my son to value status over soul, appearance over kindness. You showed him, and all of us, what true grace looks like. I watched your speech every day for weeks. It changed me. I've started volunteering too, at a shelter. I see people now, the way you do. Thank you for forgiving him, and us. With deep respect, Margaret Cole. Lily folded the letter and smiled. Life has a way of coming full circle. The school assembly. 2 years after the wedding that never happened, Lily stood on the auditorium stage of Evermere High School, addressing hundreds of students. Behind her was a banner, kindness is strength. She looked at the sea of young faces and began, when someone hurts you, the easiest thing to do is to hate them. But hate is a chain, it ties you to the very moment you're trying to escape. Forgiveness doesn't mean weakness, it means freedom. The students listened in silence. One girl, tears streaming down her face, raised her hand. Miss Lily, how do you forgive someone who never said sorry? Lily smiled gently. You forgive them for yourself. Because your heart deserves peace, even if they don't deserve your kindness. Applause filled the hall. Afterward, the principal approached her. You've changed this town, Lily. You've reminded us what dignity looks like. She shook her head. No, she said softly. Pain did. I just chose to turn it into something good. The full circle moment. Months later, Lily stood at the shore of Evermere Beach, watching the sun dip below the horizon. Beside her was a man named Daniel, a kind photographer she'd met through her volunteer work. He was gentle, quiet, and saw beauty where others saw ordinary. As the waves whispered, Daniel turned to her. You know, he said, smiling, you've taught me that broken beginnings can still lead to beautiful stories. Lily looked out at the endless sea, the orange light bathing her face. Maybe the altar wasn't where my story ended, she said. Maybe it's where it began. He took her hand, and for the first time in a long time, Lily's heart felt safe. Not because someone promised her forever, but because she had found peace within herself. The transformation. When she eventually married again, it wasn't in a grand church or with hundreds of guests. It was on the beach at sunset, barefoot, with a handful of friends. No gowns, no speeches, just two souls promising kindness. During her vows, she said, I once stood at an altar where love failed me. But today, I stand at one where love found me, not because it was perfect, but because it was kind. The guests, many who remembered that viral moment years ago, stood silent, tears in their eyes. Mia whispered to someone beside her, she didn't just get her happy ending. She built it. The legacy. Years passed. Lily became a well-known motivational speaker, not because she chased fame, but because her story touched millions. Her foundation, Hearts That Heal, helped women rebuild their confidence after heartbreak or loss. People often introduced her as the bride who was humiliated at the altar. But she always corrected them gently. No, she would say with a warm smile. I'm the woman who found grace there. Her message was simple yet timeless. Pain can break you, or it can break you open. And every time she told her story, she ended with the same words. Greater than, the day I was humiliated was the day I learned that dignity doesn't come from someone saying, I do. It comes from standing tall when they say, I don't. Epilogue. On her wedding anniversary, not of her heartbreak, but of her rebirth, Lily visited the same church where her life had shattered years ago. It had been renovated, and she was invited to speak at a charity event held there. Standing once again before the same altar, she smiled. This place once broke me, she said to the crowd, but now, it reminds me that the end of one story is just the first page of another. In the audience sat Ethan, with his mother beside him. He had rebuilt his life too, quietly, humbly. When Lily finished speaking, he stood and applauded with tears in his eyes. Their eyes met, no anger, no pain, only peace. And in that silent exchange, forgiveness was complete. As she left the stage, the church bells rang, not for a wedding this time, but for a soul that had risen above humiliation and turned it into hope. Moral. Kindness is not weakness. Forgiveness is not surrender. When you choose grace in the face of cruelty, you don't just heal yourself, you heal the world around you.